Hello, welcome. Fireside with Peter Adkison here on Gen Con TV. I am Peter Adkison. My co-host is Emma Larkins, and our guest today is Ellie Wood. We have, and we're broadcasting from the Chaldea Studios. Thank you, Chaldea. And we are, if you watch our show, you know that on this show, we go in search of the untold stories behind your favorite games. And for the first season and this season, we have been focusing on Magic the Gathering, because there's lots of great stories and people around that we all work together and have so many stories that need to get out here. So here we are. So today's guest, Ellie Wood, she worked in our sales department for Magic the Gathering. So if you imagine when Magic first came out, all the chaos that happened with this, how this product came and exploded onto the market, Ellie was one of the brave, stalwart employees who was there navigating the complexities of this. Soothing
the masses.
Yes.
So welcome, Ellie.
Thank you for having me, Peter. This is fun already.
Fun already. Good.
I feel like I had a shield and a dagger and I went to war.
That's what I'm picturing.
Wow. There we go. Exactly. All right. Well, before we go right into battle, let's talk about back at headquarters before Wizards, before Magic the Gathering, before you were involved in any of this. Who was Ellie?
Ellie was in sales and customer service, it seems like, for a while, different industries. And the last position I was in was working for a digital printing company.
A digital printing company.
Yes, it was the first digital, it was a startup.
In the Seattle area.
In the Seattle area, it was a startup.
Yeah.
I like startups. And I went to work for them, and this is the same time where I, huge science fiction fan here, so I was going to conventions, I was doing stuff with conventions. I had this group I was with, that I was helping to run, and I really don't remember how or why somebody talked me to join the Camarilla.
Okay, the Camarilla.
Yeah.
And the Camarilla is?
Live action role-playing game based on Vampire the Masquerade.
Okay, excellent. So
Yes, Vampire. Yeah, the whole White Wolf World of Darkness.
Exactly.
And it was a big rage. I should mention that it was a big rage at Wizards of the Coast in the early years.
Yes.
Somehow we got, not sure how that happened, but once you got one vampire into the building, all the rest of them
I know, right?
flooded in.
Well, I was not a gamer. No role playing, no any game, nothing. But for some reason, I don't know, I got talked into joining, and I did.
Yeah.
And then they found out that I was running one club, so somebody said, well, you should run to be the Prince of Seattle, which was a position to help run the club.
Within the Vampire Club.
Within the Vampire Club. So it's actually a working position. So not only was it a title, but it was a working position. Right. So I'm helping run this club.
Yeah,
and
I want to be a title, I
know, I was the prince. And because of that, I met Lisa Stevens.
Yeah, that's right.
Jesper Mirfors. They were gaming also. And then I met other people that were involved in Wizards of the Coast.
In the Camarilla.
And they were in the Camarilla. But
so by this time, had you actually played Vampire the Masquerade by this time?
This is the first big game I'm joining. I'm meeting Lisa and Jesper.
And you're playing?
And I'm playing the prince.
Oh.
So I'm being introduced as the new prince.
Okay.
To them.
Okay, great.
In the game.
In the game.
In game.
So this is in the game. So after the game.
And you didn't realize it was an interview.
I had no idea that this would lead to something else.
That's a great way, yeah.
But because I'm getting to know all these people, and I'm invited to Jesper's house.
Okay. So Jesper Mirfors, first art director for Magic the Gathering. Yes. He did some of the art, recruited amazing talent.
Amazing.
He was the central figure for the art world of Magic the Gathering.
He was the art director. He was also the soul and heart. And I thought it was a requirement when you joined and you met him to learn the song, the head song. Yes. It was a head. It was a human head. I mean, he was a great character. I'm sure he still is. I mean, I haven't seen him in years, but I'm at his house and you're there for some reason, and you guys are talking, and I get introduced to you as the Prince of Seattle.
I thought you were the Prince of Seattle.
Yeah, he says, I'm introduced to you as the Prince.
Right.
And
so
you said,
nice. Ellie. It's like, here's the Prince of
Seattle. Yes, exactly, not even my name.
Right.
And you said, oh, yeah, that's cool. What do you do? And I said, sales. He goes, oh, we need sales. I go, I heard that, that's nice. Call me when there's a paycheck. Well,
Fair.
I was paying rent. I had a car payment. I was a little bit older than most of the other people that, so I was like, I can't do this.
Right.
But because I was hanging out with all these camera people that were working for you,
Right.
I got invited to the release party for Magic.
Right.
At the garden in the yard.
Yeah.
then,
now, let's see. Now, which
is
one? Is this the one?
This is
1993.
And we were outside in the yard.
In the yard of my house.
Yes.
Yes. That I was renting.
Yes.
Was this the first release?
I think it was. I'm trying to figure out, but I think it was the one where I was raising money.
It could have been.
And was showing art to people.
We had
and
art.
Magic hadn't actually come out yet.
Yes.
It was a party we held. Yeah, because it was in the yard. I think it was. Well, we needed money, and so we had been, of course, raising money for years, and we were getting. But now we had actual art, and we thought, oh, let's throw a party and invite everybody to come over and see the art, and it was a fundraiser. Yeah.
It was amazing.
So this would have been
there,
early spring
Yes.
of 1993.
Yes. And and I was still, oh great, this is a cute little game.
Right.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm supporting you guys, and
Go team.
continue working on my digital printing job.
Right.
And you guys started to do trade shows.
Right.
Which was going around, but you had nothing.
Yeah.
Because you were going everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you were going to stores. I was driving Kyle Namvor to stores to demo.
Okay, so this is a little later now. This is after Magic
I'm
comes
not
out.
even, I'm not even involved, but I'm doing that kind of stuff. And
You're driving people.
I'm driving people. I'm not working,
Right.
But it's kind of funny, like I said, like I don't even know how come I joined the Camarilla or what happened or how come I met you. But at some point, I'm making a print for you to take to trade shows.
Right.
So you have something to hang on the wall. And that was the Minotaur card. So I blew it up and I made, we mounted it on a foam board and I laminated it and I gave it to the team so they can take it around.
Each of those things being much more difficult to do back in 1993.
Yeah, back then nobody was doing that kind of stuff. I mean, you took a little card and I blew it up. But then one day, as I'm working my little job, I get a call saying there's a sales position.
Right.
And
we're paying money.
paying
we're
money
paying
now.
salary. So we've gone forward at least a year in time.
Yes. So this is like,
to,
so now it's 94.
Right.
And Arabian Nights has come out.
Right.
Antiquities just released.
Okay, so this is spring 1994.
So it's like a year later.
Legends is on the near horizon.
Yes. Yeah, Legends is not out yet because I was there for that.
Yep.
And I got the call.
Who called you? Was it Carol?
I think
Carol
called me to set up the meeting, but I heard from Kyle and Wade and some of the other people. There was a group of people that I hang out with.
Your friends are looking out for you, saying, hey.
Yes. So I sent in my application, and true enough, I came in and interviewed with Carol and Ron Richardson.
Right.
And I come in, and I was told not to dress up. That I would scare people. So no suit, no skirt, So I came in slacks and a sweater. And I was interviewing, and of course I'm talking about all my job experience and all of this. And Ron all of a sudden interrupts me and says, "Stop all that. What are you into?" And I'm trying to talk about, why don't you talk about being a science fiction fan? Why don't you talk about going to conventions? Where I go, because this is a job interview. So I found out later that Carol, wanted to hire me, but Ron was against it because I wasn't geek enough or
you were too
cool
business
enough, and I was
oriented.
trying to be very professional to interview for a job.
Does on an interview. Yeah.
And Carol, by the way, being Carol Monahan,
Monahan.
who has been on our show.
But Carol won,
Yes.
and she offered me the job, and I started working. So and that was kind of Ellie before, just doing sales, for a printing company to
all of a sudden,
sales.
it's the spring of 1994.
Yep.
Magic has been on the market for less than a year. It's going crazy.
Insane.
And people have figured out this is in high demand. There are retailers who are screaming for more product, calling all the distributors in the world, and all the distributors are screaming at us for more product. And what were you hired to do?
I was hired to do sales. So I come in, and there's already like 3 people in this room
Yeah.
So we had like our own separate room, and there's like already 3 people crammed in there. Tamara, Ron, I forget the guy that was there doing shipping, and they bring me in. And Carol says to me, hey, you have some experience with sales, and you have some experience with, keeping track of orders, because that was part of my job previously.
Right.
And she hands me all these Excel spreadsheets, and she brings them up on the screen too, and it says, we really need some help figuring out allocations and keeping track of our orders. And I looked at these Excel spreadsheets, and I was like, what did I do?
Oh gosh, I can picture it.
Because it's like, there was no database. There was no way to pull a report.
Right.
You had to basically add Excel spreadsheets together.
It wasn't a sales
which is
system.
fine. No, it was Excel spreadsheets.
Because
gosh.
a typical sales department
Right.
Yeah.
would have
Even
a,
back then.
a piece of software.
Yes.
Even back then.
There were some simple programs that you can use.
There's
Yeah.
no redundancy, there's no safety, you could just delete the spreadsheet and it would be gone forever, and that was all your data. That's terrible.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was
yeah.
my first experience.
It's
And I
like-
went, okay.
Spreadsheet.
Well, simple formulas to add up stuff. You can do that kind of stuff, but there's like no
No way to
consistency.
log an order.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then I got the few allocations because product was in demand, and it was never enough. You see, it's already become we can never print enough, because by the time you print, demand goes up. It was
Right.
like catch-22. You couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the allocations, and I go, what's the method?
So let's make sure we explain
Yes.
what we mean by allocations.
Yeah.
Allocations
So-
meaning that if you had, let's say you printed only 80,000 of something,
Right.
but the orders came in for 100,000.
Right.
Now you got to figure out how to get that 80,000, how to fill, who gets what
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that 80,000, because the orders came much higher.
Yeah.
So it's like going through and making sure as legally and as fair as possible, allocate this product among all the accounts and make sure everybody got something.
Yeah.
In this case, I said 80 to 100. It was more like 80 to 200. The
Wow,
gap
yeah.
in orders was
Yeah. Significant.
significant.
Well, and it would go up as you get
Yes.
closer, right?
Yes. So there was no, you could forecast it, but early in the days, there's
So-
no way to forecast.
So what? So Antiquities had just come out. So
Yes.
did you do allocations then for Legends?
Yes. Yes. Legends was the first one that we had to work on with
And
the
I
new system.
think it might have been Legends might be the expansion that was the most shorted in a sense because
it was so big.
it was so big.
Yes.
There was because it was basically what would be called a standalone expansion.
Yes.
Eventually, it
Yes.
was like a 250, 300 card set. I don't know. Somebody will look it up online and tell us. But then, we're timing you. We're
Yeah, I
timing
don't-
you,
I-
internet.
I-
We're
yeah.
timing the internet. See how long it
But
takes,
it
and let
was
us
our
know.
biggest expansions because the
Yeah.
dark was small too. I was there for
Yeah.
that.
Well, the
That
dark
was
came
small.
later,
Yeah,
but before that was
but all of those were
Arabian
small.
Nights and Antiquities were both small sets. And, in the dark, we printed a lot more of
Yes.
the dark.
Still had to allocate.
And still had to allocate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, so Legends was an incredibly popular set as well. Yeah, and very big. And we only printed like twice as many of that as Antiquities.
So
So
yeah.
it's an interesting problem, right? Because when you think of
Yes.
sales, usually it's like, oh, you have to go out, you gotta
Yeah.
beat the street, you gotta like get people knock on doors, but it's opposite, almost like a social political thing of like who gets what.
It was
Right.
more like customer service. It was sales, keeping the relationship healthy with the customer.
Yeah.
This became more of a relationship sales, where you still got to make
Right.
the customer happy and secure what you're doing, and gain the trust that we will figure this out and we will get there, and also gain the trust that we are allocating fairly, that we are doing this correctly, which is where Carol and myself and the rest of the team had to come up with the process.
Okay, so
know.
that makes me think of something that's years later, and it might be kind of a sensitive question, which makes it great for this show. The early Wizards sales team was criticized later, and I'll see what you think. The question is going to be whether you think that was valid, or what do you think of this, as not being a sales department, but as being an order-taking department, because of
Yes.
a
because of that.
time period that we went through where we weren't pushing sales.
Right.
Right.
But you're still pushing the company. You still got to sell the company.
Yeah.
And yes, we got that a lot. And actually, we got that a couple of times, even from companies that we eventually became part of us.
Right.
They would come in and say, these people don't know how to sell, and that was a touchy subject with me.
Because,
because not only did our team sell, but they had to sell at this point the company. Yes, we had a hot product, and oh my God, people would literally like kill to get a product. But you had to like maintain the relationship and not lose customers, and keep them with the company, keep their faith in for the company. So as we did ramp up, and as we got stuff, printed, and could meet demand, they were still there.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a time that the company could have collapsed if they lost faith in us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It might have been a demand, but you do things wrong or you treat them badly. So it was almost harder sales.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a hot product. You can't have it. But don't you love me? I mean, we had to go through that process of, gaining their trust and having them stay with us.
Right.
And I mean, thank God it was a product they wanted, but at the same time, they know.
Well, and
we wanted them to work with us.
We wanted them to buy our other products.
Exactly.
Right. So
we started coming up with Ars Magica.
Yeah.
We had,
other trading card games. We had BattleTag, Netrunner, Vampire.
We did Vitas. We had other board games.
Yes.
The Great Delmudi.
Robo-Rally.
We did Robo-Rally. I mean, yes, Magic was what, but we needed, and that's when the sales really. I mean, yes, we have Magic, it's awesome, but we have this other awesome stuff. Right. But we did sell. But for a while, though, we sold the company. We sold the idea of being our partner.
Yeah.
And that, to me, was just as important as doing.
Right.
Because there's a lot of companies with very popular products that don't make it, right? Because there's the flash in the pan, everyone's very excited, and if you can't keep them coming back, then it falls apart. And
and that's sometimes too. I mean, as a sales team, you get beat up. You don't want to. The worst thing to have done right there to go. Oh, I just don't want to deal with it. So we had to work with that and say, hey, okay, I understand.
Right.
Let's move on.
So you said that some distributors would kill for product. I hadn't heard that story, but I have heard, and now it's time to find out the real story. Like I heard that you might have been tempted once or twice.
Yes. The stories are true.
Attempted bribe.
Attempted bribe.
Yeah, let's say that
I never
right up there.
accepted any of them.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get that clear up front.
The first one was probably the car, and I wasn't the only one that was offered a car. But it was a car. It started with the car. But remember now, prices in that year, a car was, you could get a nice, decent car for what? 10 grand. I mean, it wasn't like $50,000, but still a car.
Right.
And that was enough from everybody. As demand
it
got
was like
stronger.
I think we won't mention names, but I think I know who that was.
It's lovable. We became really good friends. Same guy. This is same guy.
Yeah.
Same guy.
Same guy.
How they do that? They just like put a bow and like drive it in. It's like, here's your car.
I remember
Wink.
he joked about making that bribe years later when I was there, and he was like, "Yep, it just would have showed up in your driveway
with a bow on
with
top.
a bow around it. The keys would have been underneath the front tire.
Well, there was the car, and then I got a call one day from same guy and says, Ellie, I will buy you your dream house. You tell me. I said,
a house.
A house. So it wasn't a down payment. I thought Carol was here. And she said it was down. No, it was buying me a house.
Right.
And I said, oh, that's lovely. I would love a house. Who wouldn't want a house? I go, but, okay, I take this house. My boss finds out I lose my job. I can't get hired anywhere because I took a bribe. And now I have a house I can't afford. So thank you, but no.
Very logical.
But years later, I was joking as I became friends with them. I said to him, "Are you serious about the house?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh yeah." Guess what? I would have spent $200,000 to buy back then. $200,000 would have bought a house.
Yeah.
Sure.
He said, "I would have made millions."
Right.
Yeah.
It was like,
so he was expecting a lot of allegations.
He was expecting
the
print run.
the entire print run. Yeah, that wouldn't have stood out. No, that wouldn't have raised any flags within the company.
Needless to say, actually, he said to me, because of my extreme, like, no. He actually got to trust me, and he liked working with me because he knew where he stood at all times.
Right.
I didn't mess around. I would tell him, nope, you don't get that. And it was the same way with the other resellers. Nope, you don't get that.
Yeah.
I think great salespeople, I think we have this cliche image of salespeople that's like the classic used car salesman. But the other thing is not a cliche, but it's another model of salespeople that are great salespeople are very much like clear communicators and managing expectations really clearly and really helping you see what it is that you didn't even realize, seeing the value, right? Communicating the value of what the products are and maintaining that relationship and being willing to say, no, you don't want that particular product or that much of this product or whatever, helping them. The honesty is
because there were some
crucial.
stuff, there were times that we had to say, hey, we're doing this product, here's what I would suggest. I mean, because sometimes you put the Wizards of the Coast name on it and people go crazy. And sometimes you do have to manage expectation. We had a lot of good products, but some of them you don't want to buy a million pieces of it because it's more a product that will do this much, and this product would do so. It is a relationship and it is a managing expectations and keeping the channel healthy.
Some games are gooder than others.
Or some just sell at a different volume.
Or different audiences.
I mean, something that's a board game sells at different volumes than a trading card game. I mean, it's just a fact.
Right.
So you don't want to buy the same volume, for the same for the two things. But it is a relationship, and that's kind of what our team was doing.
Right.
It was all about exceeding expectations.
So before we, while we're on the bribery talk, Nick, I think there's one more.
Really, a weird one? You want to hear? There was a time. At some point, it became known that I was the one that worked on the allocations first.
Right.
Before the team reviewed them. So a lot of the bribes, there was a reason why I was getting the bribes in the end. And people would come to me either wanting to open an account.
To be clear, the allocation, meaning you were deciding
I would do
which
the math.
Distributor is going to get how much
But I would
magic.
do the math. I would take the percentages, whether it was percentage of business they were with us or percentage of print run, and I would put the numbers together and say, okay, in this world, this is what everybody would get. In the black and white math world. And as a team, what do we think? And then kind of.
And so there was a team that would look at it. And it's a spreadsheet for anybody. I mean, if you would have gotten wacky, it would have perhaps stood out. But people on the outside wouldn't know that, right?
Exactly.
They just think that Ellie could just change the spreadsheet.
Exactly.
And nobody else will
There
have
were a
any
lot of
idea.
controls, so nobody could cheat. Like nobody, I couldn't just say, well, I really like these guys. I want them to have this much, and I want these guys, But you had to look.
I remember there were formulas. I got brought into some of those discussions where we talked about like what the formula would be and how to weight things like how long somebody had been a distributor. And if you just reduce by a factor, then you're encouraging people to overorder dramatically and stuff like that.
And also, were they a full line distributor? Did they really support the company, or was that somebody that just joined us because they wanted magic?
Well, that was a big topic.
That was a big topic.
That was a big topic I was interested in. Is this somebody that's been in the tabletop gaming industry for a while? Somebody that's got a lot of stores, or is this just somebody that's coming in?
Only ordering magic. When you have several SKUs and they're only ordering magic, that's not.
Right.
Not that we penalized them, but we had to really have a long discussion to make sure everything was fair. But because of that, people would seek me out to either ask for an account or ask for more allocation. And this felt really creepy. And I felt like this guys came to one of the trade shows to meet me. And the guy came, the actual owner of the company. He brought another person with him, this other guy. And it felt, whether it was true or not, but it was really creepy. The guy kept telling me how beautiful I was, how amazing I was. He started calling me Elle McPherson because of my name. And I was like, first of all, I found him creepy. Second of all, if you're going to do something like that, research the person and bring somebody that we like. No, I mean, don't bring me this guy with,
He wasn't your type, huh?
You got to work on your wooing.
Between the cold chain and the thing. And anyway, it was like, oh my God, this is like disgusting.
Oh my God.
And he was laying it on so thick. And we're at a bar. It's like Origins, and we're all at the bar, and the other distributors are there, and the retailers. I got so fed up by the lines that I turned to the guy and said, enough. I know what I look like. I know, whether I'm attractive enough. Stop it. You're not getting an account. You're not getting more allocation. And this was like the top of my, the bar applauded.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Probably everybody else figured out what was going on too.
I was like,
oh gosh.
I mean, you
Well,
know, I'm cute and adorable.
So sorry.
But, oh my God. Oh my God, I am not that. You know?
Well, I am sorry that you had to put up with a hostile work environment situation.
Oh my God, today is Day's age. That would have been. It was like, whatever. You just leave me alone. And they did.
Yeah.
But it was like one of those, I just lost it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned origins, which that makes me think of travel.
Oh my God.
One of the things that salespeople have to do often is travel a lot. So you were traveling a lot. Did any interesting stories? I bet there's an interesting story or two.
Everywhere, trade shows especially in the early days.
Oh, and before I forget,
Yes.
I hear you did a show once. Adrienne Swartout is, you worked with Adrienne.
Yes, absolutely,
yeah.
both in sales and
well, that
even
name
when she
is
went to market,
near and dear to us because she she ran Gen Con. She's my BFF. We're on she owns stock in the company. So, do you have any stories of hanging out with Adrienne?
I love traveling with Adrienne. But I think one of my favorite stories is it was a trade show. I think it was Origins. At the time, sales was going to meet with distributors because they were all there. It was convenient to go meet with them. So there was two of us from sales, Jim Adkison and myself, going to meet specifically with accounts. And then there were people that used to go, the organized play people would go to do tournaments. There would be people for marketing reasons, they would go. And then there would be the crew that would work the trade show.
The booth.
The booth, basically.
Right.
And we had a booth there.
Set a booth. Somebody should
Adrienne was the
probably
head.
be in the booth when people come by.
And there was usually a person in charge, and Adrienne was in charge, but that didn't mean that she was the one that did the scheduling, right?
Yeah.
Whoever put the group together was supposed to schedule people for the booth. So we get there, and as we all meet, because we always met as a group, see if in case we were needed. Here's our meetings. If you need us, we can fill in here and there. And there's nobody to work the booth. There's just Adrienne. And it's like, what do you mean? And everybody's like, well, we can't. I got to be with these people. And nobody was available. And Adrienne went, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? And I said, okay, hold on.
She probably said it more strongly than that.
I'm trying. I know we're adults, but it is on TV. So
I can picture.
The three of us got together, and I told Jim, guess what? Here's my accounts. So Jim, you are the salesperson. You're going to get to meet with everybody, and I'm going to work with Adrienne. So the two of us are running the booth, which is a long show. And it's a tiring show, and it's a full day show.
Yep.
Right.
So it's the two of us. So we're backing up each other.
Right.
And we're drinking a lot of coffee because, as you know, the late nights at shows, afterwards you got to hang out with everybody. Early mornings. So there's a lot of coffee. And at the time, there were these caffeinated mints.
Oh,
the penguin mints.
Yeah, penguin mints.
And we were selling them at the booth.
rage for a while.
Well, somebody from Wizards created those, Brett Canfield.
Yeah, Brett Canfield.
So we were selling those, and we were also eating them.
Yes.
So at some point, we are so caffeinated and so crazy that literally, Adrienne is running around the booth doing something, and I'm running around the booth, and somebody from across from us said something, come and see this. Say, sure, I'll be right there. And I thought at 5'3" that I could put my hands on the booth and leap over it. Well, that didn't work very well. But that's the state we were at. We were so crazy. So the two of us are like, ah! And then I going, and we were rooming together too. So every night we'd be like, we're going to do it again tomorrow. Okay. Back out in the booth.
That was pretty much the state of the whole company from like 1993 to 96.
But, what a crazy, right? You never knew when you went to a trade show what you're going to run against.
Right.
Because it was the early days. We thought we were getting organized, especially by that show, but nope. So there was Adrienne and I, just the two of us, just But earlier than that, you said travel. The first open house I went for a customer.
Right.
It's out in the middle of nowhere. There's the hotel.
Out in the middle of nowhere. Let me guess, Chessex.
Yes. So here we are, Fort Wayne, Indiana, in the middle of nowhere. There's a hotel and a Cracker Barrel.
Right.
And then miles down the road is where we go. And I'm thinking, oh, it's an open house, retailers will be present. Well, it was just a big barbecue and beer all day. So you go to this and I'm thinking, this is a business show? Okay. Except I'm there with 2 other people, actually Kyle Namvar and Sean Carnes, and I said, guys, we can't drink all day. We'll never get through 3 days of an open house, 2 days of an open house.
But other people were drinking like starting at 10 in the morning and just drinking all day.
It was more like a party, but that shows you where the industry was and how far we came from that.
Yeah.
It's not like that now.
No. Because I'm like, yeah, have a beer, because it was like a big party.
Right.
Like, we were so young, and I was terrified they were going to do something wrong. It's like, we have to behave. We have to behave. We can't do anything.
Turns
we
out
can't, drink all the morning. But they were, we were learning. We were all, shows were growing. We were, we were like, what other crazy things happened?
Did you do much international travel?
I did. I went to Essen. That was my only international show.
So
this is years later. That's the big gaming fair in Essen, Germany.
Right.
It's not as big as the Nuremberg Toy Fair, which is bigger. It's more like a toy fair. But this was a gaming.
For many years, it was the biggest consumer-oriented gaming convention in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went to this show that right after we did a New York show. We did a big release in New York. For Homelands, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
yes, for Homelands. Yeah, remember the New York show?
Yes.
So we traveled from Seattle to New York, did that show, and went straight to Essen.
Right.
And my team and myself went straight to the convention center to help with the packing and getting ready for the show. And we were exhausted. So imagine now, 3 hours difference to New York, worked all weekend, flew all the way and went straight. And at some point, I think I passed out.
Oh, jeez.
Because I was like exhausted. And I remember Kyle was screaming, Ellie's down! She's down! And we were
you mean at the booth?
Yeah. We were stuffing. We were getting the packages ready. We had bags with stuff to hand out.
Yeah.
And we were doing that. Gosh. And I guess at one point, I must have gone, So Karen, that was running the Karen's last name.
Karen Krisnick?
Yes.
Yes.
So she looked at us and grabbed 3 of us, says, come on, let's go get food for everybody, and put us in the car. And we promptly, the 3 of us went out. It was Kyle Namvar, Scott Hagenfirth, and myself, and we just passed out. And I think Karen was being really sweet and took the long way to McDonald's so we can have a little nap in
the car.
And then we got our McDonald's and we drove back. So we
drove
had a
around
little nap
for 3 hours.
Yeah, I know. So we could because we were, you went show to show. So here we Essen and none of us
drove to Paris.
I know. Because at one point I woke up and I went sheep. Because there were sheep outside,
That's a little far, off the path,
We were in the middle of nowhere. Our hotel was in the middle of nowhere. None of us spoke German, except for Wolfgang that was with us, Wolfgang Bauer.
Right.
So every night we ordered pork and chips because that's the only one we recognized on the menu.
Right.
And then we worked Essen, and Essen I worked the register where we're selling.
Yeah.
Right.
And I only spoke English. And this is a time now not as many people spoke English. So it was so much fun. It was crazy. It was 10 hours on your feet selling and making change in money you didn't know, you weren't familiar with, and
it's pre-Euros. It was probably Deutschmarks.
It was pre-Euros. It was it was Deutschmarks, and it was I think that was the only thing we were allowed to take. And trying to communicate, we had a blast.
Yeah.
And it was exhausting. But my favorite story about Essen is that the fact that nobody spoke German other than Wolf.
Right.
We, by accident, discovered a Greek restaurant.
Oh, yeah. And you're Greek, right?
Yeah, and I'm Greek. So
I got to ask you that before we go to that. Now, were you raised in Greece? Were you born in Greece?
I was born in California, but I was raised in Greece.
You were born in California and raised in Greece?
Yeah, so I spent 11 years in Greece from 3 to 14.
3 to 14.
So
you speak Greek fluently, probably, or at least did then. Have you forgotten it all, or you still do?
Oh, no, I still
with your family or whatever?
It takes me a while to get going, but once I get going, I can't switch back.
Okay, we won't ask you to lay some Greek on us then right now because we want you to be able to switch back to English. Yeah, that would be bad.
No, but one of the times I got to use my Greek was at this restaurant.
Yeah, Greek restaurant.
Greek restaurant. So the first time we went, was only a few of us, and Wolf was there, so he's ordering in German, and I went to the guy, do you speak Greek? He goes, yes. Oh my God, I want this and this and this. Can you please help? So I ordered, and we had the brilliant idea to bring the whole group there the last night after the show. And I said, can you handle?
And this is back in the days when WotC used to send like 30 people to a show.
There was 30 of us, I think 30 or 35. And I said, can you handle 30 people?
Right.
It's going to be after the show, so it's going to be around 7 to 8. We're all going to come here, and I will help everybody order.
Right.
No problem.
Right.
So we take the whole team, we go down, and I'm walking around with the waiter from table to table taking orders because they're telling me in English, I'm telling him in Greek, he's writing it down.
In Germany.
In Germany.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of vegetarians with us that basically did not eat for a week. We were there. And when I went to them, I explained, they need, vegetables. Can you make something with no meat? Oh, we'll take care of it. At the end of it, the waiter goes, well, everybody needs to tip her. And then he proposed to me. But it was a crazy trip. It was just, and being able to do that for everybody. So everybody was like, thank you, Ellie, thank you, And my table, whoever sat with me, got treated to ouzo, because I brought all this business in, that's the Greeks do, they treated us bad. To this day, when we had the Wizards reunion,
yes, we just had a Wizards of the Coast reunion, like in current time, like the current timeline, just a few weeks ago, right since Gen Con, like the weekend after Gen Con in August.
And he's gonna hate me now because I can't think of his name, but he said to
Tim
me,
Shields?
Tim, no.
Huh. Oh.
Anyway, he says to me, I will never forget the restaurant in Germany, the Greek restaurant in Germany. So here we are 25 years later. So that was my international trip.
Right. Wow.
I got to use my Greek.
Yeah.
So did you ever play Magic?
Yes, in the early days.
In the early days.
And my favorite deck was I had sprites and dragons. I would do fire-breathing dragons, fire-breathing sprites, and attack you for a point at a time. Fire-breathing point at a time. But after that, it got way too complex for me. So in the early days, I did try to learn how to play, and I loved the art. I was all about the art. I even collected some art and got some art over the years. But I did try to play. Still don't game. Still don't play. Anything.
Right, excellent. I've tried. Normally, by the way, I have some notes here. My eyes are. This morning I didn't have any notes for today. I'm flying blind, because yesterday my eyes look dilated. I went to the optometrist this morning. Yeah, you know how they do the thing with your eyes.
That's why your eyes are dilated. I was wondering.
They had that this morning. It was like, they're saying you're not going to be able to see very clearly for the next 3 to 5 hours. I'm like, oh, well, okay. No problem.
I only have a show to do.
All right, Derek, what do you got going on there? What do you want to say?
Plan
ahead. Yeah, I did. Well, I just forgot that when you go, I planned ahead and that it was early enough in the day with plenty of time to finish up the eye doctor appointment and get here. But I forgot that's one thing you always do. Yes.
So you had mentioned way back in the beginning doing a print, blowing up this card, doing a print of the art, having something to attract people to the booth.
Yes.
And that's, having done a lot of trade shows myself, nowadays it's a very known thing. It's like you need to attract attention, you need to get people to the booth. So is that something that you also continued to do or helped out with, or the presence at shows?
When I first started, a lot of people would go to trade shows. And sometimes people got chosen to go to trade shows that had some experience and could do so. As we got better and we actually started creating booths and started creating banners and stuff. I was one of the people that used to go and help set up the booth to make sure it was presentable and set up the product. So I was one of those people. But every time, there were several of us that were always like, here's the key people to make sure the booth. Eventually, we had a event team that did it. But in the beginning,
Yeah.
Now, I didn't make any more banners for them. It was a little bit expensive at the beginning. It was nobody was doing digital printing.
Right.
So it was a little bit expensive, but I did do that one, which I have to this day.
Nice.
I just couldn't find it to bring it in.
Yeah.
It was one of the fun things about conventions, going to conventions and trade shows, was that it was a chance for me. I always felt it was a chance to work with some of the people that I didn't normally get to work with back in the office, and so you're suddenly you get this odd sort of almost semi-random cross section of the company, like you're packing boxes with somebody, or whatever it is that you're doing, and stuff like that. So hey, so I have a question for you. When as we got later into the 90s, getting a more mature company, at some point we brought in a professional sales executive to come in, Lauren Greenwood, who came in and ended up running a sales department. So how was how was that? I always wondered, like you always feels a little risky when you hire somebody as opposed to promote from within,
Yes. When Lauren came aboard, it was a really hard time for me personally at the company. You go your ups and downs.
Yeah.
And this was a down for me because there was so much going on, but also it was a lot of the same. There was I felt like I wasn't going forward, I wasn't moving forward. Whatever it was getting, it was obviously I was on the burnout side. Not that I was going to leave or anything, it was just more like I needed something. So Lauren got hired and was brought in. And by the way, I love Lauren. But when I first met him, he called me his office to meet me, and we're sitting there. And he actually had noticed that I was. He said, "I understand. Says there's something, you either burned out or you're struggling with something, and I can't help you with that." He says that's something you need to work out. But here's what I see in you. This is what I'm hoping I'll see from you.
Right.
And I will do whatever I can to help you, but I can't help you with your attitude. I can't help you. And this is how burned out I was. Peter actually said to Lauren, "Well, I'll tell you what, you got 3 months to prove yourself to me. Otherwise, I'm out of here." As if I was somebody, And it was just, I was frustrated.
Right.
It wasn't even burnout. I was frustrated.
Right.
And true to his word, he let me figure it out. And he said, "I want you to kind of be the lead in the distribution because we're setting up the mass market department and we need to bring you people." He was hiring Rich Henry, he was hiring a bunch of people for mass market. And there was an up and coming channel for us,
Right.
So I thought it was really gutsy of me, or very rude of me, to tell this new VP, well, you got to prove yourself to me, not the other way around.
You've been here for longer. I mean, you've done a lot for the company, so I think that's fair.
It was silly of me. I was much younger there, but it worked out because I worked great with Lauren. He was a great boss. And it really did go. The department went the right direction, and eventually I became director of distribution sales. So I guess it did work out.
So I have, so we're kind of getting closer to the end of our segment. And so I kind of want to get reflective for a moment. When you think back about your time at Wizards of the Coast and that time of your life and everything we went through, the grand adventure, what are some of the things that you took away from that and took with you later in life, and what are some of the things that you left behind?
Chaos is good. Chaos is good. You learn to embrace it. Sometimes it's okay. I met some of the best, unique people ever at Wizards. I don't think that could have happened in any other industry or any other place. Everything from Jesper, we're talking about Jesper and his unique personality, to Adrienne and her exuberance and her, excitement. Kyle Namvar, who kind of was like a little brother to me. All these people. Ron Richardson, Carol, all of us were so different and so much fun to come together. That I'll treasure that forever. I learned a lot about not only building a company, but also working through that craziness of a new company. I have more patience now, probably, because you had to learn to have patience, But embracing change. Change was hard for a while.
Yeah.
But like you said, at some point you have to become a professional and become a real company. Embracing change is good, but that doesn't mean you have to lose your edge or to lose your soul or your heart. People thought you lose your soul if you become more corporate or more professional. That is not true. I think I left behind all the bad memories. Yeah. And there might be, you know, I mean, I was telling you some stories earlier, which I won't talk about, but I don't carry that with me. They're just stories I tell anymore. Right. You know, so there's no, I left behind all that. If there was anger, if there was anything like that, whatever. But for me, that was magic. No pun intended, but it was. We changed an industry, whether we wanted to or intended to or meant to. Right. But we created something so totally different. Yeah. I mean, so that I will always carry with me. Yeah. And I just remember one other story you told me. It just came back to me. The story about how you saved Ice Age. Oh my God, Ice Age!
That sounds fun.
So Ice Age was our first big standalone. It was a big deal. So it was the first. This was before there was such a thing as pre-releases or anything like that. But this is, and we were going to do a pre-release. We were going to do this big thing in Toronto, this big trade show, and it was
pre-release tournament for Magic the Gathering.
And there was advertising behind it. It was in the paper.
And it wasn't in a whole bunch of cities. It was just one city in Toronto.
Big release of Ice Age.
Right.
And at the time, as we were putting processes together, and we were taking control of inventory because we were finding that just anybody could go to the warehouse and we didn't know where the inventory was. So inventory, I had to sign off on. So if somebody put in an order or a request, I would just sign off. So we kept track of it. So we, you know, nothing, of course. And I realized, because I'm going to the show and I'm getting ready, I thought, I never signed on anything for that tournament. So I went to Lindy, who was our logistics, our shipping person, and I said, Lindy, did we ship this? She goes, nobody asked me. Besides, you didn't sign anything. So I go to Carol. Carol, did you? Because Carol was the only other person beside me that could sign. She goes, no.
And to be clear, we're talking about shipping the Ice Age cards for the Ice Age pre-release, which we've advertised.
Everywhere.
And looking forward, would be the biggest tournament ever held for Magic the Gathering as of that date.
Yes, and the first time we're doing a biggest thing we've ever done. So I had to go now find the Magic team, which to everybody else, they were kind of like, ooh, you know, they're the Magic team. So I had to go pull Scaff Elliott out of a meeting.
Yes.
And I figured maybe he went around and said he did it, which is fine. I just want to make sure. And he goes, the look in his face when I pulled him out, I told him, I want to say it was precious. He scared me. It wasn't precious.
It was precious.
Like, he goes, I didn't ship any. I go, okay. He goes, such and such was supposed to ask you for it. I go, nope, I have no paperwork. I have nothing. I have no email, nothing. What do you need? I go, before we panic, tell me, what do you need? Give me the numbers. And it was a lot of product, because this is like big. This is big time. So I go back to my desk and I called in every favor with our shipping company that we work with, which was Danza's at the time. I called and said, I beg you, because this not only has to ship, but it has to go to Canada, so it has to clear customs. And I had 3 days, I think, or four days. I beg you, please, it needs to arrive this night, because the next day they need to put all this stuff together. And all the way, and we got it going, and on my way there, and while I'm standing there putting up the booth, I'm going, Ice Age, it's not my fault. Ice Age, it's not my fault. Because I'm waiting to hear that it arrived, and nobody has come to me. And I am, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I did my best. I shipped it. I begged. I bought. The morning of, it arrived. And they put it all together, and nobody knew. You didn't know.
I didn't know. I was there. I mean, that's how important it was. I was there. Scaff was there. Richard was there.
Everybody was there.
It was.
Tournament went off. Everything was great.
I had no idea.
And I knew I'd done good because, well, for one, that night, you know how we all go to the bar afterwards, kind of hanging out. Scaff bought me a drink as a thank you. I never talked to Scaff really, you know.
Scaff's not particularly inclined to think of like, oh, that person did a good job. I should maybe get them a drink or something. So,
it could have been somebody else whispered to him, but I do know when we went back to the office, I had a huge bouquet of flowers delivered to me, and it said, "Thank you thank you for what you did for us, the Magic team.
Right.
Which the rest of the company freaked out over. Customer service ran over, took pictures of it, took pictures of the card, blew it up, posted it everywhere. I'm sure it was their assistant that told staff and the team, you really should thank her for what she did.
Thank you for saving
But either way, it was such a cool thing. And I still have that card. I have it in an album because it was so precious.
Yeah.
But Ice Age.
I remember that.
Crazy.
I remember that pre-release tournament. It was magical. There was this vision of like a pure way to play Magic. Magic having a tournament where nobody's seen the cards before. And it comes out and everybody gets the cards and drafts and.
Yep.
Yeah. It was
3 nail biting days.
Yeah. It was nail biting in other ways too.
Yeah.
We had something like 800 players, which at the time there had never
Crazy.
been an event that big for Magic. Maybe not in tabletop gaming period in terms of having like a single game that everybody shows up to play.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. And I seem to remember there was like a big. We put some theater into it. Like all the Magic decks were put into like a chest or something that we brought out with security and had to unlock the chest to get it. There was some sort of theatrics like that.
I was working the booth, so I know. The moment I heard the product was there, it was pretty much, I was like,
yeah. My work is done here.
Yeah. Well, it's persisted too. I just went to the Throne of Eldraine pre-release this last weekend. And it's still like not necessarily the same theatrics, but it's happening everywhere across the globe at the same time, right? And there's still a sense of playing, feeling these cards opening these packs for the first time, and it's a legacy.
It is.
That's
really
that's
is.
great. And how'd you do?
Okay, not great. This new set is fascinating and complex, and there's a lot of really cool stuff going on there. Started out with some red-green, some creatures, doing some cool stuff. Won my first match, but then there was a lot of traditional heavy removal in black and just baked into a pie. It's all fantasy themed now, so a lot of my stuff got baked into pies, and I was sad, but still happy because it was fun.
Baked into pies?
Baked into a pie,
What was baked into pie?
2 black, destroy target creature, I think it's just creature, and make a food. Because there's this new food token that has a lot of value in the set, and you're sacrificing food, because like with the trailers and the gingerbread people and different things, and the pies are food too. So
it's a game about eating your what?
Monsters get turned into food, and then
the monsters into the pie.
Totally stupid when it comes to that kind of stuff. But you want to talk science fiction or stuff like that? Sure, I'm there for you.
They were very creative with this set, and the whole theme, fairy tale themed, like Grimm's fairy tales.
Oh, I love it.
It's beautiful, and the art is amazing, and they've done some really cool stuff.
I love that.
So, when did you leave Wizards? What have you done since?
I left. Oh, don't ask me what year, because I'm so bad about remembering the years. But it was shortly after Hasbro
the sale
over, and it was. I had done what I could.
That was late '99, so probably 2000.
It was 2001, maybe.
Yeah,
but
that's when I left.
So a little bit after you, I think.
Okay.
But it was. I had done everything, so I got laid off. I took 5 years off.
Nice.
And it was awesome. I worked on the house. I did gardening. I volunteered. And it was a blast. And then I got a call from people I knew, and I've been working at the Pokemon Company for the last 13 years.
Oh wow.
13 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
So you've already worked at Pokemon longer than you worked at WotC.
Yeah. Yeah. One more year, it'd be twice as long as I was at Wizards.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. But still in this industry.
Yeah.
Right back at it.
Yeah.
You're still doing distribution sales?
I'm doing international sales, and actually I no longer do sales. I run the operations department.
Operations
for international sales. So.
Oh wow.
But I was doing sales for them when I first joined, and now
probably working with some of the same people that we did back in the day.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
it's really funny. I mean, they've changed a lot. The industry has changed a lot, and there's been mergers and stuff. But it's still some of the same people, which is kind of funny. We always joke like, we've known each other like forever.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Awesome. Okay. You have any other parting comments?
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Thank you for being on here. It's so fun.
Yes. I learned a lot.
Yes.
I'm glad.
All right, we're going to wrap up. That is our show for today. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to my co-host, Emma Larkins. Thanks to Ellie Wood for being, almost use your former last name. Thanks for as our guest, Ellie Wood. Will Geisling for our technical director. Derek Gooder is our producer. Thanks to Gen Con TV for hosting us. Thanks to Caldea Studios for providing this lovely set. And thank you for watching us. We will be back in 1 week, October 9th, and Mike Elliott will be our guest. And can't wait to talk to him. He's a game designer, worked at Wizards for a number of years and did a lot of trading card games, including Magic, but most famous for Duel Masters and other things. And also, in the meantime, you're going to miss us. I know you're going to miss Gen Con TV. So come on Friday at 11 a.m. for Table Takes Pacific time, and on Mondays for 5 p.m. for the Brothers Murph. Catch those shows, and we'll see you back here in 1 week. All right. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.